to tonight's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where we've launched into one of these incredible puzzles that have been approved for the channel, but that come with huge warnings in the emails from our testers. This puzzle on the screen is called Layla by Philip Newman, and it has a bit of a backstory. Basically, Philip is, he's a brilliant setter. You will know that if you watch any of Mark's videos on the gas puzzles, the genuinely approachable Sudoku puzzles. This is not supposed to be a genuinely approachable puzzle, but Philip explores, if you like, the limits of Sudoku setting, and he's done this in puzzles that we've featured on the channel before. I want to say one of them was called White Room. I hope I'm not getting that wrong. But basically, these are sort of killer Sudokus often that have a very minimal number of cells in cages. Now, this puzzle has only 6 cages, and I believe that Philip is claiming that this is the minimum number of cages you can possibly include in a killer Sudoku puzzle and still have a unique solution. So it's an incredible achievement, this, and I might be wrong about this because I think Philip is into programming, but I want to say that something in me tells me he sets these by hand. That could be wrong, but if that is also true, then that is even more remarkable. Now, one of the things I am most pleased about with all Philip puzzles, all Philip's sort of major puzzles anyway, not the gas puzzles, is that he does seem to label them after things to do with Eric Clapton, who's a guitarist I admire greatly, especially his old stuff. So I think there was a Tales of Brave Ulysses puzzle as well. But Layla, of course, comes from my favourite album of all time, Layla and Other Assorted Love Songs by Derek and the Dominoes, in which we got the collaboration between Eric Clapton and Duane Allman of the Allman Brothers in just absolute pyrotechnics. Clapton broken-hearted after falling in love with his best friend George Harrison's wife, Pattie Boyd, and just producing performance after performance with Duane Allman. That album is it's something I revisit many times every year and just absolutely fall in love with. But that's nothing to do with Sudoku, but it sort of makes me want to love this puzzle very much. And it's got a very short rule set because it's just killer Sudoku. So do have a go. Why has this come with great warnings? Well, because it's a minimalistic puzzle, in the sense that we've only got 6 cages. I know we've only got one tester actually who managed to solve it. The other tester did not manage to solve it, and the tester that did solve it said that it took many hours to solve. So this could be an extremely long video, but I have a bit of time today, so I thought I would, as I say, I have this pack of approved puzzles, things like Quite a Mouthful by Glipperal, which are, they all come with huge warnings about may take 8 hours to solve type thing, well, I thought we'd try this one today. I fancied a killer Sudoku, and the thing about this one as well is it looks like it might be easy because I can see there's a 7 cage and a 24 cage and indeed a 5-cell 16 cage, but I suspect it's not going to be easy. Anyway, do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. That will take you to a page that looks identical to this one, where you can play the puzzle on whichever device takes your fancy. But now I get to play. Let's get cracking. Oh no, I didn't read the rules, did I? Normal Sudoku rules apply, and digits in cages cannot repeat and must sum to the total given. So, okay, so there's going to be stuff going on with this, isn't there? Because those 8 cells there have to sum up to 37, but what you couldn't do is sort of do that in order to get to the total, because although those 9s aren't in the same row, column or box as one another, they're in the same cage, and that's not allowed. Now I am going to start. Let's get cracking. So I'm going to start off with some things I can see which are easy wins, if I could type, which is that those 3 cages are absolutely forced. There's only one combination of digits that will get to those totals. A 13 cage in 4 cells needs to have a 1 in it. No, I was about to say it needs to have a 2. It doesn't need. If it was a 12 cage, it would need to have a 2. But with a it could be 1, 3, 4, 5, and not have a 2 in it. Okay, so 7, 8 and 9 in box 3, they can't live anywhere but in those 3 cells. So these squares have got to be 3, 5 and 6. We have actually got a bit of a start here. This column has 1, 2 and 4 to place in it. So there's something going on. Well, that digit, yeah, okay. So there's something going on with these digits and this cage here. Well, where does this digit, which is a 1, 2 or a 4, so it definitely occupies a cell in the 16 cage. Well, which cell could this cell be? It's got to be that one. It sees the rest of them by Sudoku. So that cell has got to be a 1, 2 or a 4, and those 2 cells are the same digit. This one, though, is in one of those 2 positions. Well, actually, I'm just going to notate that just because it feels to me like I'm probably going to have to make use of everything I spot. Now, what else have we got? Over here, we can avail ourselves of the secret of Sudoku to know something about this 37 cage. Now, what is the secret of Sudoku? Well, it's something I only tell my favourite people. But I'm obviously going to let you in on the secret. Just don't tell anybody else. The secret is that any complete row, any complete column, and any complete box of a Sudoku contains the digits 1 to 9 once each. And that's because of the rules of Sudoku. If you add up the digits 1 to 9, you get 45. Now, we can therefore state something about a 9-cell killer cage. This isn't a 9-cell killer cage, it's an 8-cell killer cage. But what would the sum be of a 9-cell killer cage? Well, because you can't repeat a digit in a killer cage, a 9-cell killer cage would contain all the different digits. So it would have a sum of 45. But this is an 8-cell killer cage that sums to 37. So it must be missing one of the digits from 1 to 9. And the digit it's missing is the difference between 45 and 37. Hello, Maverick, flying over. It must be an 8. So there is no 8 in this cage. And that's literally the only thing that's going to be interesting about this cage. So what's that doing? If 8 was in this domino, 8 would be in that domino. If 8 was in this domino, that's mildly interesting. If 8 was in that domino, then because 8 couldn't go there, 8 would be in one of those cells, and then 8 would be in one of those 2 cells because it couldn't go in a 13 cage. You can't put 8 in a 4-cell 13 cage because the other 3 digits will be at least 1, 2 and 3, and 1, 2 and 3 add up to 6, and 6 add 8 is 14. There is a knowledge bomb for you. 14 is greater than 13. So there is no 8 or 9 in the 13 cage. So if this was a 7, this would be an 8-9 pair. Okay, and let's check this one, which is, this is much smaller. That's a 6-cell cage adding up to 37. So that's missing 3 digits that sum to 8, which means it hasn't got a 1 in it. So it's either missing 1, 2, 5 or 1, 3, 4. So if green or blue was a 1, then that would be a 1. Because you couldn't put a 1 in this 37 cage. So how do we know whether or not green or blue have to be the digit 1? If they weren't the digit 1, this would be the digit 1, and that would be interesting because then that would be the digit 1. There is some stuff that would be a digit 1. Yeah, that's interesting. So if neither blue nor green was 1, that would be a 1. And then by Sudoku, because there's a 1 in a 13 cage, this would be a 1. All those 3 digits would have to be 1. And that would mean that would be a 1, because there's the only digit missing from that cage is an 8. And that doesn't I mean, this is ludicrous. This is ludicrous, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work for a weird reason. I don't even know if I'm prepared to use this. I think I will use it on the basis this puzzle is meant to be hard, and this is a deduction that might shortcut a lot of the hardness. And it is logical, and I could see it. So I think it's fair enough. Right, so the trick here is to remember that if this is 1, it has to appear in that 16 cage. And that means that's got to be red. But if that's red, I don't think I can put a 1 in this row anymore, because those can't be red, these 2 can't be red, these 3 can't be red, and I can't put 1 in a 37 gauge because that's missing 134 or 125. So this is not red. And if this is not, well, it's not 1 is the point. It's not a 1, which means 1 is down here, whoopsie, which means 1 is being transposed over there, which means that's the only place 1 can go. And the thing is, I don't know which of these is 1, but I know one of them is, so I know these are not 1. So one of these 3 digits is a 1, this digit is a 1, 1 in the 37 cage is in one of those positions. I mean, this is ludicrous pencil marking as well. But the only reason I actually made that pencil mark is I was looking across here and noticing I've got to put 2 1s in that shape. So it struck me as a little interesting. I've got to put yet another 1 in this shape, because that's, you can see if I just highlight all of those cells for a moment, those cells are in 4 different rows of the Sudoku. So there's only 4 1s in 4 different rows of Sudoku, because there's going to be a 1 in that row, a 1 in that row, a 1 in that row, and a 1 in that row. But I know 3 of the 1s are in those cells. It might not actually be important. I can't see how to use that. Sorry. Okay. It's going to be 1s in this row again. Right, where does 1 go in this row now? It's not here by Sudoku. I don't think it's there by sort of Tetris logic. If that's a 1, none of those can be a 1, and you can't put 1 in the 37 cage. We know there's no 1 in this 37 cage, so 1 is now in one of these 4 cells in row 6. Now, can we... No, okay, maybe it's... Oh, that's... I don't quite see how to do it, but that feels like that's much more restricted than I was expecting. So if one of the... I know there's a 1 in one of those 3 squares, so if one of these is a 1, these can't be a 1, or there would be three 1s in columns 5 and 6. So if one of these is a 1, then that's a 1. Hang on, that felt like I was going around in a circle there in my brain. I'm going to check this. So what I'm saying is, if one of these is a 1, then because I know there's a 1 in one of those, these cannot be 1s, which means one of these needs to be a 1, which means this needs to be a 1. Now, when I just did this in my head, I thought I reached a contradiction. What was that? Yeah, it just doesn't. No, this doesn't. I haven't reached a contradiction. For some reason I was thinking I was going to have to put a 1 there, but that's not true, is it? If this is a 1, that's not a 1. No, okay, sorry. I think I can't disprove 1s here, and if 1s are here, then one of these is a 1, and then that would be a 1. So that would mean that would be a 1. I don't know. There's quite a lot going on here, isn't there? Right. Is it... I feel like I've got to put a lot of low digits into this shape. So I'm wondering if we can somehow prove those two cells have to be the same. Ah, right, here's a fairly simple deduction I probably should have spotted a lot more quickly. Those two cells do not both appear in the 13 cage. Because if these two cells were in the 13 cage, they would have to be there, which means these would be a 1, 2, 4. But we know that 1, 2 and 4 have to appear in the 16 cage, and they both have to be there, and that doesn't work. So that feels important. So that's telling me that one of these digits, which is not the 1, is it? Because we know that 1 is in the 13 cage. So whichever one of these is 2 or 4, well, they might both be 2 and 4, but one of either 2 or 4 is not in the 13 cage. So we know if 2's not in it, then we know that the 13 cage is 1, 3, 4, 5. If 4 is not in it, do we then know what it is or not? I don't actually know all the combinations for 13 in 4 cells. So we can have 1, 3, 4, 5. If we don't have 1, 3, 4, 5, we have to have a 2. So we've got 2 more digits that have to add up to 10, which are not 1, 9 or 2, 8. So it's either 3, 7 or 1, 2, 4, 6. So they are the 1, 2, 4, 6 doesn't feel like that will work. That would make all of those 1, 2, 4, 6. That doesn't work. Okay, 1, 2, 4, 6 doesn't work because if this was if this 13 cage was made up of 1, 2, 4, and 6, these squares, those two down there, would both have to equal 3, and that won't work. So we might be able to know which of these is the correct 13 cage. So we've either got 1, 3, 4, 5 or 1, 2, 3, 7. So there's definitely a 3 in here. There is definitely a 3. Sorry, pregnant pause while I try and work out what that means. One of these, this one is definitely in there because I can't miss out 2 of these digits from the 13 cage. So if there was a 2 in here, if there was no 2 in here, this would be 1, 3, 4, 5. Let's just have a quick look at that. 1, 3, 4, 5. Can we see anything wrong with that? Does that give us a... Yes, okay, that gives us a sextuplet in column 7 on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So these two would both be 7, 8, and 9. Uh, 5 would have to be here. So these would be... Let's just think about this. So I'm just thinking about this sextuplet. You can see that 5 in this sextuplet has to be here, and 6 has to be here. So you've been able to knock 5 out of here, and you'd be able to knock 6s out of there. 3, 4. You get a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple here. But I don't think that's a problem. I mean, it could be a problem for reasons I don't understand, but I'm not sure it is a problem. So let's Let's get rid of that. 1, 3, 4. No, I want to just get rid of it from. Hang on. I can just do it like that. There we go. Now the other option up here is 1, 2, 3, 7. Now why is that a problem? Pregnant pause while I try and work that out. That looks to be less constrained, if anything. What? Okay, I can't see anything there. But I was mulling over my conclusion that said that these two digits can't both be there because they both then end up here in the 16 cage. But one of these must be here because I can't miss out 1, 2, and 4 from the 13 cage. As you can see, we know one of these is true. So whichever one of these is in the 13 cage goes there, and then it goes here. So there is one common digit between these squares and these squares. So if it was this one, then I'd know those two were the same, as that these three would all be the same. Okay. I don't really know how to deal with that though. Or if those two digits those two digits don't go here. But I don't know whether they're that one, do I? This is quite difficult now to see how to actually progress this. How do we make more progress? We could. At least I got a digit. Whichever of 2 or 4 is down here, that is going in the 37 cage. Here is a weird point that I suspect does nothing, but I'm going to tell you what it is anyway. So whichever of 2 or 4 is down here and is in the 37 cage, that one, let's make this yellow, that digit is definitely not in the 37 cage anywhere. Because imagine this was a 4. Well, then we know the 37 cage has got 3 and 4 in it, but it's missing 2 and 5. But this is going to be a 2, so it can't go in there. If the 2 is down here, this has got 2 and 5 in it, but it doesn't have 3 and 4, and that is a 4. So yellow, this digit doesn't go in this cage. And that sort of feels like it might matter, doesn't it? How do we make use of that fact? How do I make use of the fact that this digit... Well, it's got 5 possible homes in row 6. No, sorry, 4 possible homes in row 6. It's not good that I just managed to miscount a 4 as a 5. And it's got 4 possible homes in row 7. Although that's going to be affected a little bit by wherever the 16 cage, wherever yellow, which must be in the 16 cage, has to live. I can't quite see this. I think there's definitely some... It feels like there's something going on between the 7 and the 13 cage. They've got 2 digits in common. They've definitely got 1 in common. So the only way that this digit is not a 1 is if this digit is a 1. Now, does that tell us anything about the world? So if this digit is a 1, I don't know. I don't quite know how to do this. I feel I'm not getting. There's got to be some way of looking at this which is actually going to make sense. And at the moment, I am not seeing what that is at all. 1, 3, 4, 5, or 1, 2, 3, 7. It's definitely got 1 and 3 in it. So how am I meant to think about this so that it makes sense? I know this digit is in the 13 cage because one of these isn't, and I can't miss out 2 of these digits. So that digit is in here. So that digit, whatever that is in one of those 3 cells. I don't know which one, or at least I don't think I do. And that digit is also down here somewhere. Ah, okay, but that... this is really complicated. One of these digits, I'm going to change tack again. One of these digits we know is in there, and therefore is down here. So again, I don't know which of these is in here, but one of them is, and then it is there, which means that the red digit, this digit, is in one of these positions. So this digit, I don't think that's telling me anything, is it? So whichever digit is in here is in there with something that's not in here. So this is a combination of one digit that's 1, 2, or 4, and one digit that is 3, 5, or 7. So there is a 3, 5, or 7, I think, in this pair. One, 3, 4, 5, 2, 4. Okay. And that digit we don't know about. I can't quite relate these to one another. It's infuriating. If that digit is in the 13 cage, it's exactly there, which would put it there as well. So if this digit is in the 13 cage, all of those digits become the same, and that 2, 4 becomes orange. But how do we can we prove that yellow is in there? If yellow was in there, that would be a 1, 2, 4 triple, and these would be a 3, 6 pair. So, but if yellow was here, then yellow, which is 2 or 4, must be the red. So red. So that. Oh, that's it. No. Yes. Well, I think that worked. Right. If you put yellow in this domino, then this has to be yellow. But we know that that digit does appear in the 13 cage because it's only one of these that doesn't. And the only place it can't go there. It just can't go in there anymore. That's right. That's totally obvious in a way. Right, so yellow has to be there. which, given that blue and green are also there, makes these squares have to be a 1, 2, 4 triple, which is great. So these are all 1, 2, 4. These squares are now not 1, 2, 4, so they are 3 and 6. These are not 3. So it's 3 that lives over here, along with 1 of 1, 2, and 4. And that, okay, so that means I've got a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple in this column. Because the digit that's orange, that is in the 13 cage, has to be in one of those two squares, and must therefore be a 1, 2, or 4. So we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple, the 3 of which is up here. And we've got a 3, 6 pair here, which have to go in those squares. It doesn't do anything, because the 3 and the 6 are up there already. Right, now if these are 1, 2, 3, and 4, well, they're from 1, 2, 3, and 4, aren't they? So one of these digits is a very low digit, i.e. from 1, 2, 3, and 4, which isn't 3. So one of these is a 1, 2, or 4, and must therefore be red. Surely that's correct, isn't it? If we look at, yes, it is correct. This cannot be the red digit, because if it is, both of those squares are from 1, 2, 4, which we know cannot be true, because that square would have to be both a 1 and a 2, or both a 2 and a 4. Sorry, yeah, so this is what I've been missing. So red is in one of these squares, which means that, oh, so red is now either blue or green, just to confuse matters further. Yellow is one of those digits then. So yellow is in those two squares. So yellow is in one of these 3 squares. I know which one, I think. Okay, because if yellow is in one of these 2 squares, and I think it is, how could yellow be down here, given that I know that yellow is in those squares? Because if yellow is down here, yellow is in there along with, well, effectively this would be a 1, 2, 4 triple, and it can't be, because you can't put 2 and 4 in this 37 cage. So yellow has to go there, and that's a 2 or a 4. That's quite clever. Not of me, I hasten to add. 5, 7, 8, 9. That square is a 7, 8, or a 9, because this domino can't go there and doesn't seem to be able to go in any of the other cells. So 5 in this box is definitely here now, which, nearly. It's nearly pushing 5 into the 13 cage, which would tell us the nature of this 13 cage. Because the only place that 5 can go now, which is not in the 13 cage, is there. So that can't be a 1 anymore, because it sees a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple. So the 1 in this row is now in one of 3 places only. Yeah, the pencil marking of 1s has got a bit out of hand, actually. Because I've got corner pencil mark 1s there to remind myself that 1 appears in the 13 cage. And I've also got these marks here to tell me where 1 goes in row 6. But yellow, we know, is not now anywhere in the 37 cage. It's not just that it's not there, it just doesn't appear, because green does appear, and therefore yellow doesn't appear. So yellow is not allowed in any of those cells or those cells. don't really know how to deal with that or to do something clever with that, I have to say. God, you can almost make this, put a 7, 8, 9 triple in this column. The only way that that isn't a 7, 8, 9 triple is if 7 itself is in the 13 cage, but of course it could be. That is one of our live options. There's an awful lot of sort of magic being performed by this 13 cage. It's definitely got a 5 or a 7 in one of those two squares. If it's 7, we know it's 1, 2, 3 that accompanies it. If it's 5, it's 1, 3, 4. Ah, do I now know this is yellow? That's a question. Oh, I'm not sure. Actually, I'm not sure I do know that. I'm not sure I do know that. I know one of these squares is not in here. But why, if yellow was in this domino, why couldn't it be there and then there and then there and then there and there? What's wrong with that? Well, that's a little bit powerful actually, because yellow is not 8. So yellow would then be there and yeah, and there, because we know yellow isn't in the 37 cage. This is getting to the point where it's going to fail. Come on. Yellow is... No, it's done. Okay, that doesn't work. I think that there's a really easy way of seeing that, but I just can't see it. But I have proved it to myself now. Now, the reason that this doesn't work is, again, I can't put yellow in row 6. Look, where does it go? Yellow can't go in the 37 cage. We've worked that out. But yellow is in this 37 cage because that's only missing an 8. So if you do make this yellow... Well, no, let me be precise. If you do make this yellow, which is the only cell in the 13 cage that could be yellow, if you make that yellow, you have to make that yellow. You have to make that yellow. And you have to make that yellow, and now you can't put a yellow in row 6. So this is definitely not... So in fact, yellow is not in the 13 cage, and it's not in the 37 cage. So yellow is a very, very unneighbourly digit. It does not like being in cages with people. Now, so we then know that we know for sure now that green and blue do appear in here. And we know for sure that green is in one of these two cells, which means that green is red. We've proved that now. Because green is not there, but we know that green must be in the 13 cage because yellow isn't, and you can't miss 2 and 4 out of the 13 cage, and 1. So whatever this is has to go in here, which means in there it's got to be there. So green and red we have now equated, so we can get rid of red and turn that green for what that's worth. And then blue, well, we also know blue is in here, don't we? We do know that because we know yellow isn't in here. But if we know blue is in here, blue must be one of those digits, and blue must be in one of those digits, therefore. So blue is that digit. So that is blue. And my colouring has gone absolutely sort of all over the place here. I'm fully appreciative of that. I think I can do that now. No, that's not blue. So this is yellow. which is the digit that doesn't appear, and blue. No, it is yellow and blue. It's yellow and blue. Blue then is in the 13 cage and ends up in the corner there. So this has been forced to be yellow now. That's great. So therefore that's not a 1. I still don't know which of green and blue is equal to 1. So yellow and blue go here. Green is in one of these. 3 is in one of these, isn't it? Oh, this is so complicated. I almost want to give 3 its own colour. And then 5 or 7 goes with green in this domino. And yellow, do we know? We know yellow isn't in here, don't we? So yellow is in one of those 2 squares. Aha. I don't know what that means, but I know that there's sort of a weird X-wingy thing of yellows. Yellow is in the 37 cage, but apparently it's not there. So, or it's not in any of those. So yellow is in one of those 5 cells, and yellow's in one of those 2 cells. So the 2 yellows that must exist in this column and this column. There's only going to be 1 yellow in this column and 1 yellow in this column, but there's 1 yellow there and there's 1 yellow there. So we can't put any more yellows anywhere in columns 1 and 2. So that, for example, these can't be yellow. I think I already knew that these couldn't be yellow, or maybe I'm confusing myself. So yellow is... No, I didn't know this, because if I'd known this, I could have written yellow into row 6. Where does yellow go in row 6? I've just proved it's not there. We know it's not in there. It's not here by Sudoku. It's not here by Sudoku. It's not there by Sudoku, so it's there. That's yellow. Ah, does that mean it's 1? Or, no, yellow is not 1. Yellow is 2 or 4. So if this is not 1, the 1 in this row now, oh, this is huge. The 1 in this row can't be there because there's a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple looking at it. Can't be in the 37 cage. Can't be there because of the Tetris piece. Can't be there by Sudoku. So it is over here. One of these is a 1, which means these are not 1. And if these are not 1, one of those is 1, and that's a 1-3 pair. My goodness me. That is a find. So this is a 2-4 pair, and that's a 1. So blue is 1. We've just learned. So that's 1. One of these is 1. And one of these is yellow. I definitely know there's a 1 in there now. So definitely that's not a 1. So green has lost its ability to be a 1. So that's not green. That's definitely blue. These are definitely not blue. Oh, well, that feels like a massive breakthrough. In fact, look, if there's a 1 in this domino, then that's not a 1. So the 1 is placed in box 6. This is a blue digit. And that can't be a 1, because that would rule 1 out of the 37 cage. So 1 is very restricted in this box now. Let's just check that out. It can be... I think it might be able to be here. I'm not sure. It's in one of those 3. One of those 3 is blue. If it was either of these, again, there's a real congregation of 1s forming as well now. 4 rows though. No, 3. No, that's a sort of floating swordfishy thing on 1s, isn't it? Because in these 3 rows here, I've got to place 3 1s altogether. 1 1 here, 1 1 here, 1 1 here. Well, I know there's a 1 in one of those. I know there's a 1 in one of those, and I know there's a 1 in one of those. So those 8 cells provide the 3 1s that exist. So that's, oh, well, that was never a 1, because these 2 cells were my cells in which I documented what the 13 cage could be. But what do I actually learn from that? Do I actually learn anything? Maybe I don't learn anything from that, actually. Oh, bobbins, right, okay. Sorry, that was another wild goose chase. There have been a few of those. Yellow, my 2 4-digit is in one of those 3 cells. Okay, but can I do better than that? Yeah, I can get rid of this one, I think. Because didn't I work out that yellow, which can't go in there, is in one of those 4 cells, 5 cells, one of those 5 cells, and one of these 2 cells. So these cells I've just highlighted contain 2 yellows. So I can't have any more yellows in columns 1 and 2, so that can't be yellow. So yellow is in one of those 2 cells. Yellow is in one of these 2 cells. Yellow in box 1. I don't know about. I don't think I know about that. Do I know what this digit is? No, I don't think I do. Or do I? I know that there's the third of 1, 2, and 4 is in this column. So this digit is not 1, 2, or 4, or 3, or 6. Oh, so it's 5, 7, 8, or 9. But so now I almost know what this domino is. This domino is either, because this is a 1-3 pair, this domino is either a 4-5 pair. I see, it's adding up to 9. It's either 4-5 or 2-7. So, wow. What am I meant to do with that knowledge? I don't know. Is the short answer, I'm afraid. There's definitely a third high digit down here, isn't there? So there's a quadruple. So is this a 3-6 pair? No. Yes, that is a 3-6 pair. Sorry, that's been available for ages. I think that's just a 3-6 pair. I still can't quite do this. So if that's 2, that has to be a 4-5 pair. That's 2. That's a 4-5 pair. So these would be 7, 8, 9. I see. And if that's 4, that becomes 5. Right, okay. And the 7 is this floating digit, which is being very annoying. Okay. So what's the thing it's asking me to do now? Eight in this cage? I don't like the look of that. I really don't. Do I? Well, there is a small point about 8s, actually. There's no 8 in that cage, we know that. So 8 in this box is in one of those positions. And 8 in this box is also, look, in row 5 and 6. So that means we have to think about where 8 goes in this row, and it's in a domino, which is marginally interesting. Very marginally interesting. It feels like there's something to do there, doesn't it? Like I can see if I can make that square not be an 8, then oh goodness, then I would get an 8 here. So yes, why was I looking at this cell? Well, it's because I'm trying to align the 8s in columns, basically. So if this isn't an 8, the 8 in column 6 has to be up here, where it's going to marry up with the 7, 8, 9 triple here, and then the 8 in this row, which can't go in the 37 cage, is going to be there. And then, okay, so then we'd have an 8 in one of these 3 cells. Which I don't know. I don't know if that's good or not. Might be fine. I'm not sure. If the 8 in box 1, we know the 8 in box 1 is not in that 2 by 2. So if it's in one of those 3 cells, then that becomes an 8, and that would actually that's it. Goodness me, good grief. Right, watch this. Okay, so how did I do that? I was thinking about whether one of these was an 8, and the answer, I'm just going to orangify them just to show you what happens if there's an 8 up here. This becomes an 8, which means in this box 8 is in one of those squares. But let's come back to that, because the interesting thing is 8 is now here by Sudoku, but that's aligning it with the 8s here. So 8 in column 6 has to be there, and now you just can't put an 8 in this box, because these 2 squares pinch all the squares that could possibly have been 8s. So there's no 8 here, which means there's an 8 in one of those 2 squares, which means that let's make orange our 8 colour, just to try and keep track of it. So 8, which can't be there, is in one of those squares. That's really upsetting. It's not actually done nearly as much as I thought. Sorry. What about... Can we... That's not 8. 8 would be in one of those. Ah, okay, here's something odd. Where does 8 go in that 37 cage now? And this is just true. It's just a true statement. There must be an 8 in it, because it's only missing 3 digits that add up to 8. Well, the 8, because the 8's in one of those squares, well, it doesn't actually matter. This 8, looking at those squares, knocks those out. This 8 knocks those out. So there's an 8 in one of these squares, which means, look, neither of those can be 8, which means there's an 8 there, which means these 2 squares are a 7-9 pair. And because there's an 8 in one of these 2 squares, those are not 8, which means that's an 8. Good grief. So that's the orange 8. This puzzle it's absolutely extraordinary, because you keep thinking that you've just hit an absolute brick wall, and yet there are ways that you can then make progress. But yeah, okay, is it worth recording that? Well, there is an 8 in one of those two positions. So no, I thought I was going to be able to do Sudoku then, because there's a 7, 8, 9 triple in those 4 cells. And these can't be 1, 2, or 4. So these have to be from 3, 5, and 6. And that one is not a 3. So this is down to 5 or 6. What's green? Oh, green is 2 or 4. Okay. So green is 2 or 4. So there's one of 3, 5, and 6 in here. Yeah, one of green and one of 8. All right. But this square is not an 8. So that allows me to do the logic on column 6 that I wanted to do. So that's got to be an 8 now. That's not an 8, which means that, whoopsie, 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 that's got to be an 8. Okay. I can't quite get them to align in this row. I'd love to know which of these was 8. If that was an 8, that would be an 8, and that would feel like it was quite lovely. I don't. Hang on. I know that's not an 8. So I do know that 8 is in this domino as well, which I hadn't thought about. I know 7 and 9 are in this domino. So if the 8's down there, that's an 8, that's an 8. Gosh, everything would then flow as well. 7 and 9 come out of these squares. So this is, so that's become a 5, 8. Oh, I've sort of already done the logic that follows from there. So that's a bit of a waste of time. Okay. Okay. What then? What now? 2, 4. It sort of feels to me like I ought to be able to know what this is. But that might be complete and utter nonsense. Sorry, I realise I've just stopped talking. This is now getting to the point where it's getting really complicated. There's so many tiny interactions between all these cages. So I know there's green in here, which means there's the complement of green, i.e. the cell with green adds up to 7. Which is either going to be 5 or 3. I don't know much about 5s or 3s, to be honest. So it maybe doesn't feel like the most profitable way to think about this. I thought I'd spotted something then. I thought I was going to be able to make this a 7 or a 9. Because 7 and 9 have to appear in here. And I thought for a moment they couldn't be in this domino. They clearly can't be in those 3 squares because of this 7-9 pair. But if that's 7, 9, that would be 5, and that would be 8. 5, 8. So this would be 2, 7. 5, 8, 2, 7. That would be 9, and that would be 7. I don't know. Maybe that's possible. I don't know. I don't know is the short answer. What about green in this row? Do we know where green goes? Oh, nearly. I nearly do, actually. Where does green go in row 6? It's not, apparently green is in there. I can't remember why. But green is not there, and green can't be over there. So green is in one of those squares. Good grief. Oh, no. I was about to get excited about it being a green 8 pair, but 8 can escape up here, so it's not a green 8 pair. It might be a green 8 pair, but we don't know it's a green 8 pair. Green. Ah. Oh, yeah, this is good. Right, okay. Green has to appear in that 37 cage because it's not the number 8. So where does it go? And the answer is in one of those 2 squares. But that means that can't be green. Because if that was green, then we'd have 1, 2, 3 greens in 2 columns of the grid, and that's not going to work. So this is green, which is a 2 or a 4. I have a feeling this has been available for ages. It's one of these things where it feels like it might have been available for a while. But it's still, I still find it exciting. So, well, now I might have to start thinking about getting rid of my little thingies up here. Because green, look, is now in one of those 2 positions. What about green in this box? Can we do green in this box? Green is not there. Green is not here or there. So green is in one of 4 places. Can we do better than that? Don't know. Goodness me, I don't know. Okay. How's this all going to resolve itself? What have I not? I feel like I've focused on all of these tiny little digits a lot. I colour my 7s and 9s, but I don't think I can because these don't see each other. What? Yeah, this is really complicated. This is really complicated. That's 5 8. That becomes 2 7. That becomes 2 7. That becomes 4. If yellow is 4, and then green is 2. Green is 2. Green is 2. Oh dear, sorry. And I realise these are the points of videos where I start to really stress that people are finding it boring to just watch me stare at the screen with a sort of frowning expression on my face, trying to figure out how on earth to make the next deduction. Is there balm in Gilead? Tell me truly, I implore, quoth the raven. Nevermore. Yellow is in one of those 3 cells. I don't think that's doing anything, but I will record it as a thing. If that's yellow, one of these would be yellow. If this is yellow, what's yellow, 2 or 4? Then one of those would be yellow, and that would be yellow, and that would fix yellow and green. And then green would be in one of those squares, which is probably fine, don't know. How do we do this then? One of these is 8. This feels like there's a constraint involving these 7s and 9s in this box somehow. If that was a 7-9 domino, the world would literally fall apart, wouldn't it? Because that would be 5, that would be 8, that would be 2, 7, that would be 4. How do we prove? So the way to prove that is 7, 9 is to prove that's not 7 or 9. How do we do that? Well, if that's okay, if that's a 7 or a 9, that's a 7 or a 9 because of Sudoku. So those two squares would be the same. 7 or 9. Don't see it. I can't see how to do that. I just don't think there's enough of a restriction. Sorry. I promise you I'm trying to think about this and failing miserably. If that's 8, then this can't be a 7-9 pair because that would be a Schrödinger cell. So if that's 8, that is 5, and that would be 2, 7, and that would be 4. But thinking through the sort of consequences of that is so difficult to do. If there's a that's 8, that's 5. 8 would be here. If that's 8, 8 would be here. I think this is the version of this that is not as profitable. If that's 8, then because this becomes 5, this becomes 2, 7, which puts 2 in this cage. Wow, okay, that doesn't work for an extraordinarily complicated reason. Right, and I'm not even sure this is true, but I'm going to try it on you. If this is 8, then what we've got to avoid is this being 7 and 9. Because if this is 7 and 9 and that's 7 and 9, well, not only would we have a seemingly deadly pattern, but also we can't put both 7 and 9 in the 37 cage here, where we do need to put them. So if we make this 8, we make this 5. So let's do this. Let's actually do this. 8 and 5 go into the grid. Now this now becomes 2, 7, which means this is 4. Now, but this being 2, 7 means that green is the digit 2, and therefore this cage here contains 2 and 5, but it doesn't contain 3 and 4. Now, okay, so where are you going to put 3 in this row? They can't go in that cell by Sudoku, and it can't go in there because we've just worked out there's a 2 in there. There's no 3, so 3 goes over here in one of those two squares. So does 8, because this is an 8, so that's not 8 anymore. So this domino here needs to contain 3, 8, and green, and I can't do that in just 2 cells. It's too much pressure. So this square is not 8, which means this square is 8, which means this square is not orange or 8. This is 8. Oh, this is great. Now this is not 8. And that fills me with joy, because that means that's 8, which means that's 8. Here we go. Let's get rid of the flash on this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, did you? Oh, nearly. Okay, so we nearly get all the 8s. There's an 8 in one of those 2 squares, and then 8 in one of these 2 squares. But we actually got some digits then, and that might... Well, has that removed the opportunity for other cells to be things that we were worried about? So 7 and 9 are both down here now. Keep coming back to, if this square is a 7 or a 9, it's going to force that square to be the same digit, because that's got to find a home. So those 2 digits become the same. Now, is there some reason why this is problematic? I'm not seeing it. There might be, but I'm just not seeing what it is. What is green? Okay, green is 2 or 4. Green lives in one of those squares, along with... Well, we don't know where in here yellow goes. We know yellow has to be in that 37 cage, but we don't know where it goes. This square is a 3, 5 or 6 apparently by Sudoku. So, oh well, it could be 6 is the problem. That is the problem, isn't it? I was almost wondering whether the way to do it was to think about where this digit goes in row 6. It's clear, I think, that row 6 and a little bit... column 6. I should probably pencil mark column 6, because I've only got to place 5, 6, 7 and 9 into this column. Now, do we actually... Well, the problem is we don't get any hint at all, I don't think, about any of those cells. They don't cross with anything that's useful. Well, whatever that is can't go in here, but whatever that is can't go there, obviously. So if this was a 3, that would have to go there, look. And then 3 would have to go in one of those squares, because it has to appear in the 37 cage. And 3 would not be the 2 or the 4 digit. Yeah, see, if I could get rid of 3 as an option from this square, then I would have a 5, 6 pair, and that would be a 3. I'm not even sure that would be useful, but it would be something. So why isn't this a 3? If that's a 3, that's a 3. One of these is a 3. Oh, hang on. No, that's it. Oh, bobbins, has this been available for ages as well? This is really powerful. Yeah. Okay, so whatever red is, the point is it can't repeat in its own region. So if red is 3, it has to go there. It just has to. But now, once it's here, it's really cool because it's knocked out of the entirety. Oh, hang on. Yeah, you can't. Well, it is. It's just you can't. No, it's fine. Whatever that digit is, it just cannot go there, because there is literally then nowhere that digit could go in the 37 cage. So the only candidate for a cell that was there, for a digit that was there and there, would be the digit 8, which it can't be. So that's definitely not able to be 3. And I think, I have a feeling something like that's been available for ages using this square. But now this square is now a 3. This is going to be so mean if this... And we know, well, the other thing we know now, which is marginally cool, is that this red digit can't go there because it would be locked out of here. And we know it's not there, and we know it's not there, and it's not here, and it's not there. So it's in one of those two squares. One of those two squares. Apologies, a massive pause there. It's children's holidays at the moment, which means that pauses happen a little bit more often than they might otherwise do. But this, normally I can pause for just a couple of minutes, but this was a lengthy pause that's included lunch and a game of football. So I've just managed to get away back upstairs now, and I have absolutely no recollection of what I was looking at. It looks like my cursor is on red digits. Let me just unwind. What on earth am I doing here? Did something in column 6, and then, oh, and I got rid of a 3 in row 7, column 2, and then I highlight these squares. So these squares have to be red in row 6. So what was I doing? I was... Let me just look at that again. Sorry, and this is part of the problem when I step away from a puzzle. Basically, I've trained my brain over the course of years. When I move away from a puzzle or move on to a different puzzle, just to forget the last puzzle. It's a good technique, especially if you're trying to solve in a competition or something. But when you actually step away from a puzzle like this, it is not good. So I was... Oh, yes. Okay, so what I was doing was I was thinking about whether red... Right, whether red could then go into this box, wasn't I? That's what I was doing. So I said that if this was red, you couldn't put red in the 37 cage, and you must put red in the 37 cage because the 37 cage is only missing an 8. So red, which can't repeat in its cage, I see, goes in one of those two positions. Now red and these two positions could not be 3s, and that's why I've got rid of the 3 in this cell. So, right, I've remembered. Now, what does that mean? I haven't got a Scooby-Doo. Do we... If that's 6, then that's 6. I can see, because this one can't be 6. So... that would give me a 5-6 pair here. Those two squares would be a 7-9 pair. That would be a 7-9 pair. Actually, that would be a 7-9 pair. We get 7-9 pairs in rows 1 and 5. Which would, I suspect, not do very much. What about... Hang on. What about whether or not... If this is a 5, it can go in either position. If it's a 6, it has to go expressly in this one. And that would give me a 5-6 pair. But if that digit goes there, it must be a 5, and that would correct this, wouldn't it? The naughty 13 cage that we've been trying to get a handle on since the start of the puzzle, which now is either 1, 2, 3, 7 or 1, 3, 4, 5. So hang on, if that goes there, this is 1, 3, 2, 7, and that would be a 5. And that would be a 4. So yellow would be a 4. So green would be a 2. And what do we say this one? That works. Okay, because 2 and 5 can go into the 37 cage together. What we've got to watch out for with this 37 cage is if, for example, there's a 2 in it, we know there can't be a 3 or a 4 in it. And if there's a 4 in it, there can't be a 2 or a 5 in it. So if that's a 4, that is a 6. No. Yeah, that's right. If that's a 4, because you know that the 8 that are missing from the 37 cage have to be 1, 2, 5, that becomes a 6. So if that's a 4, that's a 6, that's a 6. And that would be making this a 4, 5 pair. Four, 5 pair. And that would then be a 7 or a 9. So 4, 6, I see, that becomes 6, that becomes 7 or 9. And that, well, that forces a lot of 7s and 9s to be looking at these cells. Is that in some way problematic? You can only put 1 7 and 1 9 in the 37 cage. So actually those 10 cells there can contain 1 7 and 1 9, and then we'd have 7 and 9. Oh, this is getting too complicated to work out actually. I can't quite visualize it. There's a lot of 7s and 9s pointing at boxes 1 and 4. But I think this provides an escape valve where we can have lots of... Well, we can't have lots. Maybe can we have 2 in there? Can we have a 7 and a 9? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. It just feels to me like in this variation, which was caused by... How did we start there? We started with this being 4. That forced that to be 6, didn't we? And that forced that to be a 7 or a 9. And this, because this was 6, we got the 5, 6 pair. Yes, that's what caused. And the 5, 6 pair here causes 7 9s all over the place looking at those boxes. But I can't see why it breaks. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's this we've got to reconsider in that case. Okay. That would be a 7 or a 9. That would be a 7 or a 9. Right. This doesn't work. But it's a lot simpler than I was making it. So I think there is an easier way of seeing this. I think it's to do with 7s and 9s in this cage. If that square is a 7 or a 9, it has to go there in the 37 cage. The 37 cage has definitely got 7 and 9 in it. So if this is a 7 or a 9, let's make that purple. That square has to be there. And you can see in this box now, the 7 or the 9 that corresponds with purple has to go there. But I don't think that's the important thing. I think the important thing is now to look at these boxes together and ask where we're putting purple, especially in this box. Because remember, well, hang on, have I made a presumption too far here? Let me think about this. No, that's 4, 5. That's 4, 5. That's 2. No, okay. All right. I claimed that this was easier to see. This is not easy to see at all. This is complicated. This is really complicated. Yes. Okay. So what you do is you start from this position. If that is 4, 5. Let's go through this and I'll show you. If this is 4, 5, you can see that this square becomes 7 or 9. But this being 4, 5 means that green is a 4, which is this digit. And we know that therefore there's a 3 and a 4 in here. There is no 5. So this becomes a 6, which means this must be the 6 that corresponds with red. And this sets up these 7, 9 pairs here, here, and this purple one here. All of these squares are now just 7s and 9s. But look, where does purple go now in box 1? Well, purple is not allowed to be there, and this is a 7, 9 pair, so purple is not allowed to be there. So purple lives in one of those cells. But now there's nowhere for purple in box 4, I don't think, because this digit, and obviously you can't repeat it in the cage, and it's not equal to 8, so there's just nowhere to put it. That is complicated. That is complicated. So what we're learning from that is that it's simply not possible for this square to be a 7 or a 9. I think that is true. I'm just double checking that it's, I think, well, we started that by saying that's a 4, 5 pair. So we may now have got the 13 cage sorted out, I think. Because if that's 4, 5, let me just double check this. That becomes 7 or 9. That becomes 2. Yeah, that becomes 2. So this becomes 4, and that forces that to be 6, and that breaks it. Wow. Yeah, so this is a 2, 7 pair. And that, therefore, we're off to the races. Because now we've got a digit there, 4. Yellow has become 4 out of nowhere. And 2 corresponds to green. So green is 2 wherever we see that. And surely this is going to crack the puzzle. So now, oh, this is 2, 7. So this has become 9. This has become 5. Oh, so now we don't know which of these red is still. Red could either go here or here still, depending on what it is. No, it can't, because this is a 2, which means we need a 5 in this region. There's no 3 or 4 in this anymore. So 3, so where does 3 go in row 6? Not there. So it goes with green over here. So this is a 2, 3 pair. And these squares must be 6, 7s and 9s. And 5 is in one of those squares in the 37 cage. And what? And 3 has to make an appearance in this cage, as does, well, we know 2 is up here. So we know, oh, look, we don't need this anymore, because we have now finally worked out we were in this paradigm. So we can get rid of that, and we can pencil mark 2s into these squares, 4s into one of these squares. And I'm sure that we can go a lot further than this once we get our heads around what we've just achieved. So this square is 5, 6, 7 or 9, I think. Somehow that's not resolved. These squares are... there's 5, 6, 7s and 9s everywhere now. Being incredibly recalcitrant. Maverick is making a fly past as well. Hello, Maverick. There has to be a 3 in that cage, doesn't there? This cage is only missing an 8, so the 3 must be in one of 4 positions. Nope. That doesn't do it. That's not a 9. This 9 is maybe doing some work I hadn't thought about. Or not. Oh, well, that's a 7. Okay, yes, it was. It was doing Sudoku work that I hadn't even looked at. Right, so 1 is in one of these squares. 4 is in one of these squares. 2s and 3s go over here. Sorry, I know many of you will be shouting at me now, because I think that this... I think we've just cracked this open. I think sorting out this 13 cage was the tipping point. I just have to understand how to make best use of this. So how do we do this? I don't know. I don't know. Is it? No, I don't think it works the same way. I was wondering whether I could duplicate the logic that I did for this cell. This cell, we worked out if that was 7 or 9, it gave us a big problem over on this side of the grid. And I can see if that's 7 or 9, it's certainly true to say those two digits would be the same again, which would mean one of these was 7 or 9, which would mean one of these was 7 or 9. And we'd get a 7-9 pair in row 1, and that would be a 5 or a 6, which would make that square a 7. That'd be huge. But that's only if this is 7 or 9. So in fact, if this is 7 or 9, I think I've just proved it has to be 9. So we go 9, 9, 9 in one of these two cells. So 9 can't repeat in its case. 9 goes in one of those two cells. 9 goes here. And then we don't know. And 9 is in one. 9 is this 9? Yes, okay, so 9 goes here. And so 9s would almost get plotted around the grid. But that's on the presumption, and that would be a 7. That's on the presumption this is not 6. So if this is 6, what happens then? Then this is 5, and this is... So is this always 7? That's mad if that's right. I mean, that's very, very, very difficult to see. It might be that I've just proved this is 7. So let's go through that again. If this is 6... that's 5, and that's clearly 7 because it can't be 9. Okay, so that's very clear. If this is 7 or 9, because you've got to put it in this cage, it's got to go there. So we get, hang on, let's do this. That would be grey. That would be grey. Grey goes in one of those. Grey goes in one of these. So grey goes here. Then what? Yes, so well that's the key, isn't it? Because grey is here and it's a 7 or a 9, and that's a 7 or a 9, that square becomes a 5 or a 6. So either way round, the 5-6 pair is either there and there, or it's there and there, but it's never involving that digit. So that is 7. That gets us the 7. That gets us the 2. That, oh, this is good. This is good, because now that's a 7 by Sudoku. So all of these get done. Well, okay, where does 2 go? In box 5, it has to go here. This is now a 2. I mean, this is not an easy puzzle, is it? So, okay, all right, this is now not... That's now the green 2. So we've got to go... got a 6, 9, a 5, 9. This is not a 7. And 7 has to make an appearance in this cage, because this cage is only missing an 8. So 7 is in one of those 4 cells. And just let me work out what that means. So I now know that these digits definitely include 2, 3 and 7, and they might include 1, but I'm not sure about 1. So hang on, let's think about this box. Do we... It's got to have a 4 in it somewhere. We don't know. That could still be up there if the 1 shifts down, couldn't it? Ah, no, I still don't know which one of these is red. Oh, for goodness sake. What about... hang on, let me think. What about... Okay, what about these squares? These are squares have got to be 1s, 3s and 5s. So is this central digit known? Ah, that's going to be it, isn't it? Let me just think about that. That looks good. That looks good. It sees 1 and 3, so that's 5. And now 5 is in one of those cells. So 5 can't repeat up here. Don't think that matters, does it? Okay. 9 in this row is in one of those squares, so 9 has got to be in one of these 4 squares. Okay, alright, so look, 9 is in one of those 4 squares, and 9 is in one of those 2 squares, so we can ask where 9 goes in row 3, and although we don't know the answer to that, we nearly do. It's in one of these 2, but it doesn't seem to be able to be there, so we can now ask where 9 goes in this column. Oh, yeah, this is good, because this can't be a 9, I've got a 5, 6 pair in the column, so this is 9. Now that cannot be the same as red. Red cannot be 9, so red is 5, and it was mapping to that digit after all. That's a 6 by Sudoku, so 5 and 6, that's a 9. 9 goes here by Sudoku, it's the only place in this box. We've got 5, 6s and 7s left to place, and that's not 5. And 9 is here now by Sudoku. Ah, here we go. This is 6 or 7. No, I was about to say something that was total and utter gibberish. That's a 6, that's a 7, that's a 5. Look, it's actually going now. That's a 6. So that's a 5. This is not 5. This is not 6. Come on. We must be close now. 1, 3, 4 and 7 into the top of this column. Don't think we can do that, not sure. And what about 5 at the bottom? We can do some more digits down here. 5 and 8 go into the grid. So that 8 gives me 8 in the corner. So let's get rid of the orange in here and make that fully orange. Have we done all the... We've done all of the orange digits now, I think. And this row still needs to have in it 3, 4 and 6. So these are from 3, 4 and 6. Although we don't seem to know anything. Oh, hang on, we do. Yes. Where is 3? And because 3 is here and 3 is here, 3 in column 3 needs to be, in fact, exactly there, I want to say. So that's 3, that's 6. Neither of these is 3. This is a 4, 6 pair, which must go now with a 7 to complete the bottom row. Now we take 7 out of these squares, so 7 is in one of those 2. And we can go... we can... Hang on. I'm sure there are many things we can now do. We just have to work out what they are. 1, 3, 4 and 6. Let's put those in. Right, these can't be 3s. So these are 1s, 4s and 6s. That can't be a 1. This one seems to be able to be a lot of things. That's not 9 anymore. Can we do 9s? 9 is in this domino. 9 is not in those cells. Ah, so 9 is at the top of the grid, which means this has become a 7. That becomes a 9. This 7 does a little bit of work, but not enough, actually. I don't think it's done enough, anyway. Might be wrong. Oh dear. How? How is this still resisting? I've got 4, 6 pair here. Which does that do something with 6s? 6 is here or here in box 1. I don't know which. What about? Can we do this? Can I do this 2, 3 pair now? Surely. Can I do the 1 here? Can I do anything at all? No. Oh, I thought I just had an intelligent thought, and then that thought evaded me. Right, that's not 5. So what about 5 then? So 5 is in one of those 2 cells. Yes. There we go. Oh, it's straightforward. Right. So where does 5 go? Given 5 is in here, and we've got to put 5 in this top box, where does it go? It can't repeat in the cage, and it doesn't seem to be able to go there. So that is a 5, which means that's a 3. That's a 6. Ah, we've still not got a 3 in the corner. We have still got a chance, though. No, we don't, because there's a 3 in one of those. No 3s in the corner today. Okay, that's fine though. we can't be too picky when the puzzle is this constrained. Right, so in this column, look, it looks like 1s, 4s and 6s. So this is a 1 or a 6, so it's not a 5. So 5, it seems, has to be exactly equal to there, which seems to mean that has to be 9, which means that that's a 9, and we get a 9 in the corner. We've got 1, 3 and 4 to place in the top row. That's not 3. Oh, hang on, we know the 3's here, don't we? Yeah, we do. So this is a 1, 4 pair. So this is a 3. So this is a 1, that's a 3, that's a 3, that's a 6. This is a 1, 4, 6 pair here. This is a 1. So we get a sort of 1, 4, 7 thing going on. Must be resolved. 4, 6 thing going on. I still can't see how to do it. I've got this 4, 6 pair here. Let's take stock of this column, because surely I see it's 2, 3 and 7 left to place now. So that square is just 2 or 7, and that square is 3 or 7. That's not what I was hoping to see, actually. 1 is not there. This is, okay, because of this 1, 4 pair, there's going to be something going on in row 2, where we actually need 1, 2, 4 and 7. So this is just 2 or 7, I think, which gives me a 2, 7 pair here. And if that's true, that's got to be a 4, 4, 1, 7. And therefore this is a 3. That's a 3, that's a 2, that's a 2, that's a 7. In this row, we still need to put 6, I think. Oh, that's rather cute. This 6 then feeds through to that digit, look, because it's in the same cage as it. Oh, look, we could have done it another way anyway. But anyway, that does seem to be how to solve the puzzle. Now, I've got no idea what's going on in terms of my colouring. 4s were yellow, weren't they? So we need to double click all the 4s and make sure they're all yellow, and then we can get rid of yellow in all other colours. Blue was meant to be, 1s were meant to be blue. Let's make sure we fix all of those. That shouldn't have a colour. I don't think 6 earned a colour, did it? 2s were meant to all be green, and therefore that one is green and that one is fully green. These 2 are not coloured. So we get, 1s were blue, 3s were nothings, I think. Oh, what's going on here? Oh, this was the famous red digit. All of those now lose their colour. So every box should have 4 colours in it. And that is nearly true. There you go. Let's see. Yes. Time 179 minutes. Obviously the clock didn't stop. And well, that is what it is. But oh, hang on. No, I've made a mistake. There you go. That needs to be not coloured at all. There, that's better. Gosh, I would have got such criticism if I'd left that in. I might have left something else in. Let's just take stock of that, because that is a really, really remarkable Sudoku. It's brutally difficult, but I think you're always going to have that in a puzzle like this, because what Philip's been aiming for is the bare minimum number of cages. I certainly think, in terms of something that was humanly solvable, you couldn't go with too many less clues than this, or too many fewer clues, because if you did, you'd have, well, it would just be very, 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 very hard. I mean, this was already extremely difficult, but it was fair, actually. It was, and to give Philip credit, it was also extremely interesting. There were loads of clever things. I think there is a much smoother way of sort of working out the colouring at the start. These 3 cages here, they have so many digits in common, but I couldn't quite get a handle on how to fix them. It took me a long time to sort of understand how these operated together. I can't even remember why I started looking at 8s. Can't remember that, but what I liked as well was this cage, which, although we knew it didn't have an 8 in it, actually a lot of the logic we used this cage for had nothing to do with 8. It was all to do with other digits that we might wanted to have put in, for example, this square, and what that might mean for where it had to go in those positions. It's really, really interesting, and like the clever way that this played a part as well, by reference to the low digits that had to be omitted from it. It's just super smart. So Layla, you've got me on my knees. Yeah, I loved it. Now I've done it. And Philip, thank you very much for setting that. How are they called? Nerd snipes or something, I think you refer to them as. These weird and wonderful ideas you get for minimal Sudoku. Well, this was certainly one of them, and I enjoyed it very much. Let me know in the comments how you got on. Let me know if you managed to solve it. Kudos if so. We'll be back later with another edition.